Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े-बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी-छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the UnoCoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना, तो एक सक्सेसफुल करियर, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग सब रेडी करके रख चुका था। और एक इन महाराज को देखो, पूरा दिन फोन में लगा रहेगा।
दैट प्लानिंग तो मैंने भी कर रखी है, UnoCoin के साथ।
नए जमाने के साथ नई चीजें आजमाएं। Looking for Bitcoin? Download the UnoCoin app.
Guys, we really need to work hard. This wasn't a good quarter. Tell me, are you happy with this?
Yes! UnoCoin.
Want to earn Bitcoin? Just grab your phone and shake it. Download the UnoCoin app.
Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin,
Bitcoin, Bitcoin.
Get a systematic buying plan from the UnoCoin app to get your Bitcoin today. Download the UnoCoin app.
Hello dear audience and welcome back to another one of UnoCoin CMA, which is also known as Ask Me Anything session. So today our discussion is around one of the most interesting contrasts that we see at every turn when it comes to the governments and the community. And that is the coexistence of CBDCs and stable coins. So a lot of you might be wondering that, okay, looking at are the two things cut from the same cloth. But are they for real? So this is one question I think a lot of you are asking, and a lot of you must be having a lot of opinions on this too. So just drop down your opinions on this and let us know what do you think is more preferable according to you. Now coming to the basic purpose of our today's AMA, that is Ask Me Anything. All your questions will be answered with me, Shambhavi, your host. And to answer all your questions, we have here Mr. Satvik Vishwanath, our esteemed guest. And also the CEO of UnoCoin. Hi Satvik, how are you?
I'm doing good. Shambhi, how are you doing?
I'm great too. So Satvik, before we start our AMA today, I think we have to give a few word of cautions to our audience. So guys, if you receive a call or message saying that the person is from UnoCoin and they want you to transfer certain amount of money or crypto to some bank account, please be informed that this is not an official person from UnoCoin or a partner of UnoCoin, because we never ask our users to send money or to any personal accounts like that. So yeah, stay cautious about that. Moving forward with our AMA, Satvik, I think when we look at this closely, the CBDCs and stable coins, they have kind of similar properties, but they're a lot different. So how do you think they're like, for a quick overview of their purposes, how would you describe the two, CBDCs and stable coins?
Yeah, there are some similarities, but I think if you start looking under the hood, there is quite, I mean, they are very different, right?
Yes.
So let's say when it comes to stable coin, today we have multiple stable coins. Most of that, the successful ones are in USD, right? And according to the company or institution that issues those stable coins, they say that they have one-to-one backing, which means for every dollar that they hold, they have issued a stable coin as a token on a specific blockchain. Okay, so now so who exactly is promising that for every stable coin, every unit of stable coin, there is real money behind it? It is a private company, right? So most of times, and there are some mechanisms where they also try to decentralize it to some extent. Yeah. So in a way, I would still call stable coin to be vastly centralized for today. So when it comes to CBDCs, so which is a central bank issued digital currency, right? So this, as the name says, it is issued by the central bank, right? So central bank in our case, like Reserve Bank of India, in US it could be like Federal Reserve Government, right? So these are the ones who are promising that, okay, if you use this, let's say if it is $1 is there in your CBDC, it actually means $1. If it is 1 rupee, then it is actually 1 rupee. So that promise is done by them. Okay, and it is the same promise that is also same promiser, the person who is doing the promise, and the same person who is taking the promise, which is me, you, everyone. So that combination is, and the risk of things are exactly same, even if you do it with cash, if you do it with money in the bank, right? So whatever is the promise that Reserve Bank of India is doing to you about your money in the bank, it is the same promise that they would do if you have CBDCs also. Okay. So in that way, it's who is doing the promise is very different. The centralization, decentralization to some extent, it is different, right? But when it comes to stable coins, it will be more global in nature as compared to CBDC, which is more specific to a country for time being. Right? So eventually, if there is a person who want to spend it or give it, and if there is a person who want to receive it, they can do it both. It could be in stable coin or it could be in CBDC. So no one can really stop it unless it is as per the law of the land. As long as it is the law of the land, you don't need to worry about it, I think. So in that way, yeah, it's actually similar because both are digital, but it is different because who is doing the promise and the trust that citizens would have is very different. They would, if a citizen need to trust between the central government and a private company, they would actually choose central government.
I think, yeah, that's right. But Satvik, will have to take a quick 30-second halt here. Guys, don't go anywhere. Stay right here. I know a lot of questions are here in our comment boxes already. We are going to come right back in just 30 seconds and answer all your questions. So stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. So we are right here with you, and I think we already have a lot of questions. Like I said before going on this break, Satvik, a lot of people are asking questions around BUSD. Here, NPC has, I think, a very interesting question. He's asking, with the recent news around BUSD, can we rely on stablecoins? Which stablecoin you suggest for crypto traders? Because many projects are giving nightmares to the traders.
I mean, that is the nature of stable coins because, like I said, there is a private company behind it, which is the issuer of those kinds of stable coins, right? So when it comes to BUSD, so there is no immediate risk for people who already have BUSD, but it is just that the SEC has restricted the entity which actually issues BUSD, which is Paxos, to not issue more BUSD, right? So which means I cannot send like 10 million and ask them for 10 million BUSD, which I could have done it before this issue. Okay, so but this is more about having more. I mean, like if you need to launch more, release more and more of it from the company. But however, presently, whatever is working on the present blockchains, it will absolutely continue to work, right? So this could give rise to more stable coins in the future. We don't know. So at one point of time, I always feel like beyond a certain limit, even though crypto is so much decentralized, because of the stable coins, it is still getting centralized because some of them are becoming way too big. It's better if you have like too many stable coins if you're talking about for the economy. It's obviously it is a little bit of friction when people need to convert from one stable coin to another stable coin or see if they have a trading pairs on an exchange or not. That is all true, but I think more importantly, so that the huge issues like FTX or a few things like that. I mean, like people are always worried about how the tether will be USDT and such, right? So instead of worrying about that and one thing going wrong and entire system or the companies connected to it really facing the issue, it is better if that friction is there so that it's as much decentralized as possible so that it will continue to think is how I see it. So yeah, BSD, I am not sure of any immediate threats for BUSD, but that is better for a lot of people according to what I've asked, because they always see that, okay, the exchange rate trade is always Binance, so you always have BUSD and such things. So it depends upon which exchanges are used. So like I said, it's better. We should not even be recalling a specific stable coin when we say stable coin. It's like, okay, there's like so many of them. When that happens, it's better, right? So don't go with a specific stable coin.
Okay. So I think that was a really good piece of advice for you, NPC. Okay. So Biswajit is actually asking for the video quality. I think it's some network error that both of us are facing, Biswajit. So yeah, I think it should be fine in like a while. There's another question by Individual Rocket. Maybe you can give a quick overview of CBDCs. What are CBDCs?
Yeah, so it's like when it comes to the central bank issued digital currency, which is CBDC, the central bank, like in our case, Reserve Bank of India, would come up on a specific fine day saying that, okay, they want to launch it, right? So there are some kind of e-rupee and such things launched. I don't know if you can really call it a CBDC yet. So depending upon how the adoption and everything improves and maybe how the eventually they call it just matters. But however, in simple words, when they come up and saying that I am issuing this particular tokens, which can be transacted among people and with some certain rules, and they provide the infrastructure to do that particular transaction from one person to one person, right? So then I would call it as CBDC, and it also in this particular case, every unit will definitely be backed by the real rupee, right? Yeah, the real rupee, because it is done by the same entity which also issues real rupee, I mean actual rupees also, right? So, but it is not fully true when it comes to the stable coins, right? So, yeah, because central bank issued digital currencies are simply, I mean, in simple words, it is like your bank app or it's like your Paytm app and such things, but completely controlled by the Reserve Bank of India and enabling the transactions for people.
So I think Individual Rocket, you got a quick overview of what CBDCs are. So Satvik, there's always this thing when it comes to its basic difference. Of course, there are a lot of differences when it comes to CBDCs and stable coins. But when I look at it, it's like one is pegged to a certain country's currency, whatever currency it's been maybe manufactured in, if that's the right terminology, I'm not sure. and one is actually being produced by the country itself, like the one producing the currency, like you just mentioned. So, what would be the difference? Like, how do we see the two having different sorts of utilities?
I think when it comes to a common man like me and you, both would work comparatively similarly, as long as the person who want to pay and the person who want to risk are accepting it, right? So it's like, okay, whether you want to pay using your phone pay app or whether you want to pay using your Paytm app, as long as both are fine, it's just like fine. It's as simple as that, right? So again, very similar to how when you do a transaction in Bitcoin and what happens behind the scenes is different from you do a transaction on Paytm and what happens behind the scenes, right? So when it comes to Paytm, it's a particular company who is making sure that the transaction is getting through, as compared to those if it is when it comes to say cryptocurrency Bitcoin, then there are like huge set of miners which are processing the transactions, right? And similarly, when it comes to CBDCs, it like again be the uh, reserve bank or the central bank which would actually process the transactions. So I think the issues is different, and person who is promising is different in all three cases. And when the transaction occurs, who processes it is different, right? To a great extent, the CBDCs and stable coins are more centralized as compared to the cryptocurrencies, which are more decentralized. So I say.
Okay, so there was a recent case, if I'm right, about the Terra Luna, where the Terra, I don't know if it was
Terra USD, yeah,
Terra
the
USD.
TUSD, yeah, the USD, yeah.
So it was sort of algorithmic, it was like pegged on the basis of some algorithmic code, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
So what is the difference between that sort of a code and the basic maybe USDT coin?
I think they did a lot of things wrong.
Uh-huh.
I'm not fully aware of like what are the different things that went wrong, but that got unpegged, which means there is no more like 1 unit is $1 or 1 unit is 1 cent. So that kind of unpegging happened. And when that happened, like a lot of things, and there were a lot of collateral that was issued on top of it. There was loans raised on top of it. So all of that became liquidating and
Oh
collapsing.
yeah.
So which actually made those I mean it could be the Teluna or the stable coins behind it worthless, right? So yeah, that is a major issue that happened at that point of time.
So with other stable coins like Tether, a lot of people trade in that because of course it's a good medium to maybe transfer their cryptocurrencies. Do you think one such situation can arise with that or any other stable coin around the world?
No, that can arise for any stable coin. I don't see how it may not. But now I think actually nowadays I see SEC a little bit being involved, and they want to just make sure that such huge catastrophic failures won't happen,
Mhm.
I guess. So I am not sure what exactly they have seen when it comes to BUSD, but eventually it has come to an extent that no new BUSD should not be issued and such. And we always see new stablecoin, other stablecoin companies as well having some kind of interactions with the SEC and so. So that could actually avoid such huge failures, because there is a regulator who is at least making sure that the promises that these companies are making to their customers. See, at the end of the day, it's like one promise that the company did not keep. But just think of the number of people who got affected,
Mhm.
right? So that company will just file for bankruptcy. It's like it will go to like the end of it. But then there are like thousands of people, sometimes millions of people whose savings and the plans will eventually get affected, right? So that is like
True.
tricky in nature. So intervention by the regulator is definitely good, I think. But it is in all likelihood it can still happen. I mean, when people ask me, I always suggest that if you are holding it for like 1 day, 2 day speculation or whatever you want to do on the cryptocurrencies, maybe you can try stablecoin. Or else just sell that and take the money to bank. And whenever you want it, you just put it back. Undergoing that friction actually is really, really, really good
Mhm.
than messing up everything. They want to save little things, smaller transaction fees, delay in time and such, and they become extremely exposed to risks which is like unknown risks, right? So it is not worth it sometimes, I think.
Okay. So Satvik, there is another thing. When it comes to exchange value, see a lot of people might be actually holding USDT as well, maybe for just so whatever reason, just so maybe they can hold some currency in cryptos as well. Because I have come across such people who just want to hold their currency in crypto. For any unforeseen situation, if they have to like take that money out, maybe from CBDC, maybe from stable coin, which one do you think would have more exchange value if somebody has to withdraw them?
I think CBDCs would obviously be pegged to the actual rupee or dollar, whichever is the central bank issuing it, I think. But comparatively, stable coins, which sometimes pick a little bit, 1-2%, most of times, it's usually it will not be too much. So in that way, if you see if you have a very straightforward, easy way of exiting from crypto to CBDC itself, I would say that may be better. It's like actually exiting into the fiat currency itself, right? So the the CBDC is pegged to fiat through the central bank itself. So that could be better, I think. But the issue with this kind of CBDCs is they will have restrictions of to where you can transfer next, right? But if you actually exit it into a stable coins, then you may be able to transfer it to another exchange or someone in some other country. So all those are technically possible, right? So, but that may or may not be possible with CBDC, and whether it is possible or not possible depends upon what rules that the central bank have put on those CBDCs that they launched, right? So, stable coins would be less. It will not have much rules, right? So
Okay.
it's just on the blockchain and it just transfers, and you cannot really stop it.
Okay. So I think, guys, we have this one quick deal for you. So we were running this thing and we just thought just to maybe, yeah, motivate our audience. You can, the best three audience, like I think who would have the best questions here would get a chance to win something at the end of this AMA. So stay tuned and keep asking your questions because, yeah, you just might be the winner of something really interesting. Moving forward, Satvik, which one do you think is more secure? Because yeah, that is one of the reason I suppose why CBDCs came into existence in the first place. Security, because the governments want to make it like a sense of security for the people around. What do you think would be more secure in real
I
terms?
mean, if you talk about security, is multiple things, right? So one is technical security, whether it does it get hacked, like that is technical security, or it could get manipulated in some way. And the other security is whether the backing is real, right? So it is there is real money behind it, right? So when it comes to real money behind it, I obviously think that the central bank issued digital currencies will be secure because it is them who also create the actual fiat currency for the country. So even if something goes wrong, it will be in their hands to fix it up instead of blowing it up. So in that way, yeah, it is. And when it comes to the stable coins, because it uses blockchain, technology wise, I think the stable coins could be more secure, right? So just imagine if you want to hack Ethereum blockchain, right? So it has its own, it's too tough, like it's not at all
It's
straight.
not possible.
Yeah, sure. So in that way, technically, I think this is better. Whatever is so centralized, technically it will have its loopholes, or it will have its vulnerability when it comes to security, right? But if it is the blockchain, it's better, right? So in that way, yeah, CBDCs on the technical security side would be better, and when it comes to the value side, it should be uh, the CBDCs are better on value side security, and the stable coins are better on technical side security. So,
Okay. So, but I would think that a lot of people give unnecessary preference to value where technology matters more when it comes to digital currency. What do you think about that?
no, at the end, there is no new technology we are trying to identify now. Right? So when it comes to CBDCs, which are issued by the central bank, I'm sure it just takes to create the infrastructure, like how maybe Paytm have it, something similar to that, I think. But when it comes to the technology and complexities for issuing the stable coins, and because we already have successful blockchains, issuing the stable coins on top is usually like straightforward. It's more about whether people trust me with their money for one believe that when I have 1 rupee, I actually have 1 rupee and I'm issuing dollar, I mean, a token on top of a blockchain like Ethereum, so that will have its value and can be transacted.
So, Satvik, Don Pablo here is having another interesting question. He's asking, is stablecoin the answer to all cryptocurrency problems?
I think crypto is the answer to a lot of problems as
That I
compared
think too, yeah.
to as compared to stable coins. I would say stable coins can actually create more problems than crypto
Oh, is
to some
it?
extent. Yeah, it's because it's so centralized, and it just takes one individual or one company to blow up the entire stable coin as compared to the cryptocurrencies, right? So um, it'll take more. It is too tough to actually like look into. Um, so a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ether, or many other successful ones like maybe to some extent Ripple and Litecoin and such. It's actually too tough to make it get compromised through any kind of security vulnerability, I think. And if something still goes wrong and if people edify it, they'll just patch it up, right? So it's nothing is the show is definitely not going to stop. But when it comes to the stable coins, it will usually be one company, and if they mess up something, then just imagine through some kind of manual error or whatnot, the company which issues USDT, which is USDT. So if they instead of 1 million, if they type 1 billion, and they issued it,
Hmm.
so it's like one human error, and now if it just gets spread across like everywhere,
Yeah.
then I mean, how do you even recover it? How do you even get it back? Right? It
True.
becomes comparatively complicated. I mean, you may have agreements in place and such, but then it is not straightforward methodology, right? So in that way, the infra, I mean, it's like the peace of mind that you have, or like who is doing the, so it's all like different things which will have to see it separately. All of them come with their own advantages and disadvantages, right? So uh, if I have the CBDCs issued by the central banks, which is like CBDCs issued by central bank anyway, and if I need to exit from crypto, exiting into CBDCs is a better idea as compared to a stable coin, as long as it is supported in my country, right? Because CBDs are more rupees as compared to stable coins.
Yes.
I mean, today we don't have rupee stable coin, but let's, for argument's sake, if it is there. So if I have to choose between rupee stable coin or CBDC of rupee, or actually choose CBDC of rupee, right? Because if something
Okay.
goes wrong as well, it will be the responsibility of
Of
the
the
Reserve
government,
Reserve
yes.
Bank to fix it up and get me that money back, because I trusted their network as long as I didn't do any mistake.
Hmm. That's correct. I think that makes a lot of sense also, because people do need a sense of security when it comes to their holdings in terms of money or in terms of assets as well.
Mhm.
So there's another question by Hoggle979. He's asking, Alice and Bob conversation would define inflation of market. Okay, mean to say that encryption algorithm which I am talking about, Alice and Bob, I think he's referring to us as Alice and Bob, if I'm understanding that
Um,
correctly.
Not sure. Not sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Hoggle, if you could just clarify a bit on your question, because it's a
Mm.
bit hard for us to understand what you're trying to ask over here. This next question by Piyush Trikha. He's asking CBDC, which is central bank digital currency, a form of digital currency brought out by and controlled and managed central bank of a country.
Mm.
It would be RBI India, FED for US, and so on. I think yeah, he was answering some other person
Mhm.
in the comment
Sure,
section.
sure.
Okay. So, moving to the core nature of cryptocurrencies, I would say, I think CBDCs, that is just an opinion of, I think, a lot of people that I've come across in the recent days. A lot of people say that CBDC would be a waste of time actually for people, because it doesn't really suits the core nature of cryptocurrencies.
No, 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 no. We cannot see it that way. In that way, if you also see the stable coins is also waste, it's the fiat currency is also waste. I mean, you cannot always see it in the speculative angle. And if you want to take that exposure and be exposed to a specific amount of time, yeah, you're welcome to do it as long as you know what you're trying to do, and you know the risks and you have the risk warnings and such. So when you exit, just like you have multiple options to exit. So it could be exiting to CBDCs, exiting to stable coins, exiting to fiat directly to the bank account. So that exists, and there you choose, like depending upon the need and like what you trust and such. It's fine, right? So like I said, when it comes to CBDCs and money in your bank, it has its own restrictions of how we can send it because of its own rules and regulations that existed always. But if you exit into stable coins, generally, if as long as it's withdrawable, it can be set anywhere to anywhere with just a click of a button, right? And just because giving so much freedom to people is also sometimes bad, right? So they'll just try to use it for a lot of wrongdoings. But I think most of the times when I'm talking about it, I'm just talking technically what it is looks like, right? So so disadvantages are definitely there, a lot of them, right? So I'll put it that way. So it's definitely nothing about waste of time and such. It is just that you have to choose. When you need to choose, you choose depending upon what you need and what you
your needs
trust
are.
and what you want to do next, right? So depending upon that, you'll do.
But how do you think does this digital rupee? Because I think a lot of in a lot of our AMAs itself, you mentioned it that CBDC is nothing but a digital form of rupee, right?
Mhm.
How does this fit the narrative of crypto, or does it need to?
It need not, right? So the CBDCs can be issued on the blockchain if they want to, but I would say it's a bad idea for number of transactions that will eventually get through and such. They have to build layer 2, layer 3 already before they actually, get it on the blockchain to be able to make thousands of transactions a second, because transactions are happening across India, right? So I mean across the country. So in that way, it would actually be different. And when you talk about but one is like the efficiency part of it, I guess. So, but it's eventually important for people to understand what they're trying to do. It'll just come to that particular answer, I guess. So, if I want to hold it for long term, and I feel bank is safer, there is a mechanism for that. If I see CBDC is safer, there's a mechanism for that. If I see stable coins is better, there's a mechanism for that. All of it, I mean, out of these three, which is the most riskiest? I would actually say the riskiest is stablecoin.
Okay.
If you have to compare with these three, right?
Uh-huh.
But if someone is trying to do something wrong, then definitely they should not go for the CBDCs or money in the bank, because it can actually get frozen and it's like much more trackable than stable coins and such. So depending upon the purpose and such, people will have to choose their best bet.
Mhm. So I think there's another question we are having here by Biswajit Day. He's asking what is the future of cryptocurrencies in India? How the government is viewing to regulate the crypto?
I mean, that is a question that I mean, neither me or anyone
Can actually
cannot
answer.
actually like straightforward way answer it, because like how crypto itself is speculative in nature, the regulation for crypto in India is also speculative in nature today, right? So we don't know for time being, but at least we should be glad that there is some kind of taxation rules and TDS and such rules available, and there is some kind of guidelines when it comes to the advertisements of what we can tell, what we cannot tell, what kind of risk warning should be provided, right? So given that part, which is like partial, like if you can call it as a regulation for namesake, yeah, it's just like one thing. But on the other side, categorization would definitely help us to figure out what are the other various modes of transactions and value transfers that happens, and how to treat it. So the categorization could be of some help. So right now we have like halfway through, maybe, or maybe three-fourths of the way, but yeah, having these things clarified will eventually make it a lot better. And we also need to understand that people in India always come with this jugaad mindset. Okay, so they always try to see that, okay, if this is possible using this particular technology, what else is possible, and how you can take advantage of it, kind of thing. So when the regulation comes up, it's really important for the country to create the regulations where such kind of loopholes as much as possible does not exist, right? And that could be a really, really long procedure by itself. And once a regulation comes up,
True.
it's not like you can change it in 2 months, 3 months. And tech changes so fast, but can the regulation change so fast? Definitely no. We still use some of the rules from in Reserve Bank of India is more than 100 years old. They still go with that, right? So, and if you start changing it because the way crypto industry is evolving, if you try to keep on adding things, it'll actually become tricky, right? So, we did little bit too early to expect full blown regulation for time being.
Talking about regulation, Satvik, what I think is how these two will be taxed is another good question around. Because CBDCs are currencies, and then stable coins again comes under virtual digital assets. So
I think, as per at least the India, the way income tax departments are seeing it, it sees stable coins also as cryptos, right? So if you make
yes.
profits in stable coins, then you have to pay your 30% straight income tax for whatever profit that you're able to get on top of it, right? So they are seeing stable coins to be cryptos, for the purpose of doing the transactions. But when it comes to the CBDCs, they'll be seen as currency. So you actually cannot make money by doing transactions or speculating on CBDC. CBDC will not fluctuate, right? And it's extremely unlikely someone will buy your CBDC for more money. It's not like, okay, Shambhavi, give me 100 CBDC, I'll give you 110 rupees. That may not happen, right? So if you give me Paytm cash, and if I need Paytm cash, when I say 100 rupees, it's still 100 rupees only I give,
Yes.
right? But so in that way, it's not speculative in nature. So if you're holding CBDC, it is that you have exited from positions and you're holding it, or else you just hold it as liquid money. As simple as that, right? So yeah, so when it comes to taxation, it will be completely different. CBDCs will work like currencies, non-speculative in nature, and when it comes to the stable coins, it will work like cryptos, and it will follow the 1% TDS and 30% income tax.
Yeah. So I think that is another factor why would people consider CBDC to be a better option in our country, I think.
Oh, the stable coins also do not fluctuate. Right? $1 is $1. I mean, in India, it does. It will go to 83, 84, 85. It's like 1-2% difference in rupees is there. But if you let's say have a stable coin of Indian rupee itself here, it may not speculate that much. You don't know, right? So
Hmm. So what do you think would be the case in US for this, for the same thing, when it comes to
yeah,
taxation?
there I think $1 would be same as one stable coin in USD, which is USDT or USDC. Until the company blows up, it'll have the same value, I think. I guess. So, and if they have CBDs as well, that will also have the same value. So, and there, if it is like for whatever money you are doing, it just comes as income tax slabs, which will go all the way up to I think 40 to 43%, I guess, in US. So if they're falling under that particular slab and people are paying taxes, and I don't think there is any kind of TDS there yet. So yeah, that will just follow that particular rule. So it will be more easy for people to understand the difference and even think about taxes and such when you have stable coins in the same currency and CBDC also same currency in the same country.
Mhm. So I think for a lot of Indians, again, another point why CBDCs would be a better choice to hold their money in. But there's another thing that I've been wondering about CBDCs and crypto. When it comes to crypto, people in India mostly see it as an asset class, maybe to gain higher profits or something, because everyone over here just wants to make money.
Mhm.
Whereas the basic utility of crypto that we see is for transactional purposes, for cross-border transactions and other things.
Mhm.
But as an asset class, what the Indian considers it to be, which one do you think would be more beneficial to have, like crypto or CBDC?
I would say CBDCs would be better medium term or long term as compared to stable coins, which could be better short term.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you take the stable coin now, doing your transaction, be done with it, then stable coins is better because it has less restrictions on top of
Yeah.
it, and it can actually go from one place to one place technically. But as compared to the CBDC, because CBDCs, I mean, if you hold something for long term, then you are trusting it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, so then you're trusting CBDCs, which could have which actually is backed by your central bank anyway. So it's safer to hold. But if you have to compare again whether CBDCs or money in the bank account, I think those two are same. But
Mm-hmm.
there is a little bit of risk because of the bank. Realistically, because the bank can actually blow up, even though they're completely regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. And when they blow up, I think most of times the Reserve Bank will come for help and fixing up the things. So between CBDC and bank, maybe still the CBDC itself is better. And I actually hope that Reserve Bank of India actually launches a bank, normal bank also by itself, right? So
Mm-hmm.
So instead of we trusting one another extra party to do the transactions, which is the bank, and always bother, okay, what if this bank which keeps on giving the loan, and if the non-performing assets will increase and they had to shut shop, and that will merger, and then there could be some time where you cannot withdraw money. So all of those things would come, right? So here it is the Reserve Bank of India which is giving the hope that things will not go wrong because banks are banks and it is guided by them. Right? So if something goes wrong, they actually come in and help.
So Hoggle here, Satvik has clarified, I think, a bit on his question. He's asking why can't, I think this is a whole different question he's asking. He's asking why
Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the UnoCoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना,
ಹಿಂಗ ಅಪ್ಲೋಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಷ್ಟೇನೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು
Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज,
sorry for the interruption, guys. It was a bit of technical glitch. So I was talking about one of the questions that Hoggle he has. Satvik, Hoggle is asking why can't an encrypted address be used to withdraw a crypto? I think what he's trying to say is the way our addresses are, it's all KYC'd and everything, and when we withdraw, it leaves a trace. Maybe that's what he intends to ask.
generally the crypto addresses are, I mean, you cannot link
Reveal
it directly to an
yeah,
identity
of a
unless
person.
someone is making sure that KYC and all those things are collected. They are actually encrypted in nature already, and in UnoCoin people can withdraw. There are some few other exchanges here which do not accept, which not allow crypto withdrawals, but in UnoCoin it's like smooth thing. I think so. Yeah, people should be able to withdraw crypto to encrypted. So we don't have a problem.
Okay, Hoggle. So you should try UnoCoin if you want to withdraw, and yeah, of course, trade in crypto all smoothly. Next is another question by Biswajit Day. He's asking, can cryptos be used in forex trading or cross trading?
Yeah, if there is a service provider who is doing that, technically yes. But if I see, some platforms like Robinhood in US, they allow equity trading plus crypto trading on same
Yes.
platform, right? So in India, it may happen someday. We don't know. But because crypto is completely unregulated or mostly unregulated in nature here, and equity is regulated, and forex is regulated, commodity is regulated, so mixing that would be a little bit tricky for time being. I think once more regulation comes up for crypto, I can actually foresee those things happening where you just have all pieces in like one roof, right? So that's definitely a possibility.
So Satvik, a lot of times, just like this question, can cryptos be used in forex trading or cross trading? A lot of people are involved in cross-border trading, and I think I don't know about stable coins in particular, but Bitcoin in particular has proved to be a boon for them. I think since the start of whenever it started. So do you think that CBDCs are going to be they're not going to be fulfilling this particular role? Like, people have unique needs, different people have unique needs. So which one would you prefer for what kind of people involved in trading? What should they use more, CBDC or stable coins for their purposes?
See, stable coins, people who are involved in crypto be more familiar or
Yeah.
more, they feel it, they understand it. So the moment if you start showing the long Ethereum address to a normal person, they'll faint. I mean, like, you imagine if you say, okay, CBDC, right? You just transfer the QR code, be done with it, right? So you cannot push them to be more technical in nature when through some of these kinds of stable coins. And like how the stable coins have a dependency on a specific company who is issuing those stable coins, eventually over a period of time, people will always have that anxiety, oh my god, what if this company or something goes wrong in the company, right? So they obviously tend towards the CBDCs. And also think about how many times have you done a transaction which is international in nature in the recent 1 year. It could be say 3, 2, or 5 because you're buying some kind of subscriptions or whatever. That's pretty much it, right? And because you are actually tech savvy, if you are, and if you talk about a normal businessman or a common man here, it's unlikely he did any transaction in an international. Worst case, he would have just used a credit card, right? So for him, the CBDCs is same as stable coins as far as doing the transaction at that moment is concerned, right? So irrespective of the risks, right? So just doing a transaction is concerned. But if you talk about some people who actually want to have exposure or doing the transactions in a cross-border way because their countries don't have any restrictions and it's fine, and receiving country don't have any restrictions and it's fine. So whenever that happens, actually, I would see stable coins having a better prospect there because at the end, can you achieve the purpose?
Exactly.
If you cannot achieve the purpose, can you break that purpose into 2 pieces or 3 pieces and make sure that you can use different things to achieve individual purpose and make the entire thing work, right? So the more breaking you try to do, you will have more friction, right? So and if there is some option which has less friction, people just tend towards it. It's as simple as that, right? So if let's say someone in Germany want to send money to US, so they can actually use stable coins, I'm sure, right? So that's definitely a possibility. But can they use CBDC? Not sure if someone from US will accept the German CBDC,
Exactly.
right? So but if they, let's say if all transactions happening in US itself, no one is like to do any kind of transfer or transactions and such. So for them, does let's say all transactions happening in India itself, right? So we have CBDC, we have a rupee stable coin, and we also have Paytm, then we also have UPI. At the end, how does it matter? Everything is same now.
Yes.
The transaction is just getting achieved, right? So unless it is a specific purpose and depending upon the length of the exposure to those new things and ability for people to comprehend how blockchain works, how stablecoin works, how crypto works, how CBDC works, how banking works. So there are little differences. So people should understand it. And once they start doing it, people has to get their hands dirty.
Yes.
Then only they'll get to know
I think,
little
yeah.
differences.
That is how we, I think, learn to cook once we burn our hands.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so here we have a couple of more questions from Hoggle. Okay, yeah. Hoggle and Biswajit both. Hoggle is asking maybe it defines marketing when we trade any currency or any asset, just like Forex trade. I think,
You should answer something, I guess.
yeah.
The statement, not a statement.
Yeah. So Biswajit here is asking, how are you planning to expand Uno coin in the global market?
Right now, we don't have any immediate plans. I think, it's like we want to be completely India focused. India is way too big of an opportunity as far as our business itself is concerned, I think. So I definitely cannot say we never, right? So but there may be a possibility where we get forced to, or we actually end up doing it. because we see some prospect there as well. But I think for time being, our efforts are more focused in just India.
Yeah. And I think that is a great thing as well, Satvik, because I don't see a lot of people focusing on India itself. Of course, there are a lot of other entities who are concerned towards India, but UnoCoin being the oldest itself took the first initiative of educating people about this great fintech technology, I would say.
Mhm.
So Satvik, something I don't know, like this is out of the topic, off the topic, but I just want to ask this one question. Stable coins and cryptos are like one of the similar, like they actually fall in the same basket. But when it comes to CBDC, I've always seen that Bitcoin has been deflationary, right? It's limited in supply, and of
Mhm.
course, it's a dream for a lot of people who are maximalist that it's just going to beat inflation one day. Do you think if people are too inclined towards CBDC and stable coins, can they fulfill the same purpose of beating inflation as the major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin would do?
No, no, no. So here, stable coins, it is called stable coin because it is stable, right?
Yes,
So and it is pegged to the particular
currency.
currency because at least that is what a particular company would doing a
Yes.
promise. When it comes to CBDC as well, the promise again is by central bank. So that will not beat inflation in any way. It is just another form of money. So if someone has to issue stable coins, so someone may think that okay, then there is more money in the economy. That is not true because there is some specific amount of that money which is were circulating as stable coin. That much of money is getting locked in the bank account. Only then they're issuing it. Right? So in that way, it is still the same thing. So it will not. It has nothing to do with inflation or deflation at all, right? So it's
It's
out of
just,
topic. It's out of topic.
yeah.
It's on its own. I mean, the irrespective of whether you hold crypto, whether you hold stablecoin, whether you hold CBDC, money in the bank, if the country is undergoing inflation, it's just undergoing inflation, and that's it. But if you are holding crypto like Bitcoin, then you are actually taking the exposure that okay, if the inflation happens, I hope the price of Bitcoin are similar to real estate, similar to gold. So where that price also increases and try to equate the inflation. But when it comes to money in the bank, then if you do it as a fixed deposit, then that is another way of trying to negate the inflation that the country is going through. Either you take the exposure into different assets or investment classes, or you try to see what maximum you can get from your money, so that at least you counter the inflation, right? So, but generally speaking, yeah, if you're just holding stable coins or if you're holding CBDCs, or if
It's
you're
never
holding the money
going
from
to,
the bank
yeah,
account, yeah,
save
it
you
is
from
actually
any
same thing. It does not mean
okay.
anything with inflation.
So basically, stable coins and CBDCs act like the same when it comes to inflation and
Yeah,
everything, the basic economic problems.
it is, yeah, it does not matter. It's separate thing altogether. It'll happen
Uh-huh.
on its own, and this 1 rupee is 1 rupee, $1 is $1, and CBDC is in 1 rupee, is CBDC 1 rupee. Same thing. So everything remains the way it is. It will not have any kind of impact. It's like absolutely unrelated.
Okay. So, Satvik, as an asset class, like, of course, we have talked about this already, but like, if we see about the asset class and everything, which one do you think will have more utility?
If you forget about the risks behind the scenes that is involved, I would say the stable coins have bigger utility, higher utility, right? So, but again, it depends upon who is accepting it also. No? So if the receiver and sender, both of them are fine to do the transaction, the stable coins is much more suitable for doing the transaction, forgetting about the risks if we do, right? So as compared to CBDCs, which are comparatively monitored and regulated by the central banks, I think so. So I mean, like going forward, I actually see the borders becoming thinner and thinner, right? So I mean, now there is no borders for passing information across border. Just
True.
goes, just to send click one button or touch one your screen, and it will goes from anywhere to anywhere in the world already, right? So similarly, payment will also be that way, right? So some part of it is already that, but eventually everyone will realize that yeah, the payment is also supposed to be that way, and the borders will not have too much of effect on it.
Okay, so I think, guys, this will be all for our session today because, as I see, there have been a quite great number of questions, but due to our time constraint, we're not able to answer all of these. So, now time to announce our winners who have asked the
Mhm.
best questions. I think on my top three list, number one is NPC, number second would be Biswajit, and number third would be Don Pablo. So, guys, congratulations! You have won 10,000 Shiba in your UnoCoin wallet. Please DM our team on their Twitter, on our official Twitter handle to avail your coupon codes, and you can avail it from your UnoCoin applications. So this would be all, Satvik. I think it
Awesome.
was a great session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We'll see you soon again with another interesting topic around taxation on March 7th, which is the upcoming Tuesday, with Satvik and the Binox CEO, Tanmay. So please stay tuned and join in at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, 7th of March. See you then.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.
आज बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the UnoCoin app.
Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.